Hi, hello, and welcome back to the HII Method. My name is Jen Hatz. I am the host of the HII Method podcast and also the founder of the HII Method, a holistic, integrative, and innovative approach to assessing and optimizing human health, well-being, and performance. And I'm partnered with Neuroforce One, a human performance company that has been training champions for years, and they offer training and assessments in their facility as well as remote options available. And today we're going to look into the big question about recovery methods and whether or not a certain type of recovery method is beneficial for you or maybe not, maybe taking away from the benefits of your training because it's not appropriate for you. So this is an interesting topic in general because we tend to think of anything lumped under that category of recovery as being beneficial. And that more is better. That's very often, like, I think too many of us, we get that more is better kind of mentality about anything. But that the more recovery is better, and that the more things we're doing for recovery is better. And then all of a sudden you have this laundry list of different things that you are doing, or different tools you are using, different methods or techniques or movement patterns or different devices or whatever. And it all starts to like build this entire recovery like lifestyle, really. And the big question is, how much is too much? And really, what is the right form of recovery that you would require and benefit from? And at what point do you have enough? When is it enough? So when it comes to different recovery, like I'm going to go maybe a couple examples of different types of recovery. If you want to think of like active recovery versus passive recovery. And so when I view it in that context, active recovery, I would think of as any type of a method or a movement pattern or a some sort of an implement that you are doing where your body is moving. You are moving your body actively in some way through this process. So what this can look like is like yoga or Pilates or if you have any kind of PT or physiotherapy, anything that is you moving your body. And this could even be like foam rolling or using different types of we'll say different implements, but you are the one moving your body. Or like lost my train of thought there, resistance bands. So for instance, with the resistance band, you are maintaining some form of control and resistance with the band in order to gain a benefit from using it. So I would categorize all those as like active recovery. And then the passive recovery is something where you are not physically moving your body through any kind of a movement or modality in any way, but that there's some sort of a device or stimulus in some way that is still impacting you. And so this can be, under this category of passive, this can be like those different like muscle stimulators. Like you see all the different types of devices that like stimulate your muscles, or the like boots that are the Normatec boots, and any type of a chair or really anything where you're passive and the device itself is doing something to you, for you, but you're not actually moving or doing anything. And this also, I would lump the use of tubs, hot and cold tubs, into that category because it's the function of the temperature of the water that is doing something to you or for you. It's not you moving yourself. So if we think of recovery as those two arms, first of all, of active versus passive, now you can immediately start to see like, whoa, okay, maybe I've been adding on a whole bunch of stuff. And maybe it was a lot of active recovery that I was adding in, but I wasn't doing enough passive. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you've only been focusing on passive recovery and not the active recovery. So there's a benefit to both, and there's a need to balance between both. So the benefit of that active recovery is the fact that it's you moving your body. And this is, in a way, going to help stimulate that much more of your own stability, first of all, and all those little tiny stabilizers within you that need to be strong and stable in order to protect you and your joints from injuries. But that form of you moving yourself through these different modalities, it's like I said, it's not only going to help you in the big picture to prevent yourself from injuries or to prevent any sort of we'll say like a adverse movement pattern. If you all of a sudden move funny, it's like you're less likely to move funny because you're actually practicing how to move well. So think of it like that. So that's like the active side of things, right? And so if you start thinking about different types of active recovery, if you're going through, let's say, a bunch of yoga classes and you're also doing PT work and you're also doing all these things, you may have a little too much active recovery on your plate for your body to fully, I was going to say fully recover in the most literal sense, but to fully absorb the benefits and be able to fully recover before you're then back to doing something else that is more active once again. So you need to really, we'll say, taper yourself into and out of active recovery types of methods. And if there's like a ballpark estimate, I would say maybe 1 day a week that is an active recovery of either yoga or Pilates or something that is you moving your body. And just to break that down a little bit more to yoga, different types of yoga, some can be more active and some are more, not necessarily passive, they're not going to fit into that category, but less active, we'll say that. So some are more restorative and slower, and it's more focused on the stretching, and it's meant to keep your heart rate down, keep you calm, and really just focus on a restorative kind of a flow. And then others are more active, and that could be more of like a vinyasa flow. So if you're looking at different yoga classes and you're like, I want to do yoga for my recovery day, but I don't know which type to go for. So the vinyasa would be like your typical workout type of a yoga class. So it's more of a flow. You get more of a full workout out of it, meaning like there's a warm up, there's more of the active part of the practice, and there's a cool down with deeper stretching. And so you're getting a lot more out of that type of a day. So if that's your recovery day, sometimes that might be too much for your recovery day. So then there's another type of yoga that you could look at, and that's hatha yoga. And that's the slower, more restorative. You're doing a whole lot less work than you would in the vinyasa flow. It's much more like you hold a pose for longer. You're doing less total poses. You're doing a lot more slower, restorative type of movement. So that one might be a better fit for your one recovery day of the week. Or there's even the even slower, like a yin yoga or restorative yoga that's like entirely slow and restorative. Like it's almost all just stretching, but really like slow moving stretching. So like different types of yoga. The one type that I would say you probably should not do, and this is, I don't like saying like don't do it, but hot yoga is going to deplete you more than anything. It's not going to benefit your recovery. It is in itself a higher stress type of a stimulus. Because not only is it yoga, but then you have the added heat factor. And this is something I'm going to talk about again when we go back to the passive about that, the use of heat really in like hot and cold tubs and what that does for you. So when it comes to those active recovery though, and the use of like yoga, those different types of yoga, again, I don't want to like say avoid it, but don't do it if that's going to count as your recovery day. Make your recovery day an actual recovery day. And so the movement that you are engaging in throughout throughout the practice itself should be just enough to help you recover and to help you at least stimulate just a little bit of the movement patterns that you want and to stimulate some of that stability, especially around your joints. But what you don't want to do is deplete yourself. So that's all categorized in the active recovery kind of side of things. Now your passive recovery, like I said, all the different like tools and devices that are just doing something to you. So this could be like the muscle stimulators or the Normatec boots or any kind of chairs or boots or anything like that, and the hot tubs and cold tubs. So the use of something outside of you to stimulate recovery inside of you is in itself an interesting question. So if you can imagine just the fact that I posed that question, you're probably like, whoa, yeah, that is kind of interesting. So what you would need to do is, first of all, take any of those devices and implements and methods with a grain of salt, because what it may do for you is going to really depend on a whole lot of factors. It's going to depend on where your actual state of health is, first of all, and what you're doing across the board with your training, your eating, your sleeping, everything you're already engaged in. And then on top of that, it's like, where and in what way is this device fitting into the typical protocol that it's been researched under? Has it been researched? If there's no research, if it's just a cool device, then again, take it with a grain of salt. It might not actually do what you are intending for it to do. It might work really well and it might not. So because it's something that is doing something to you, again, like you are the limiting factor there. And there's also that potential limiting factor that maybe it's just a device and maybe it's not actually having an effect on you. But that also kind of throws in a little bit of like a double-edged sword there. It means that it could be safe to have those different devices and tools on a more regular basis. It could also mean that you're maybe putting a whole lot of time and energy into something when you could have been focusing on something else. Maybe there's another device out there that you haven't yet looked at because you've been focused on one. Ooh, right? Now we're starting to get like some deep thinking of like, oh man, what have I been doing and why have I been doing it? So if anything, start looking at all the research and start playing around with different things, and whatever you have access to, do that combination, do the research, figure out, play around with it, see if it works. If it really does if you feel better, if you feel more recovered, that's the big thing. If you feel like you are performing better on the days that you need to perform, and you feel like you are sleeping better at night, you feel like you are less sore, you feel like a higher energy, you feel better overall, then that's probably a good thing. Whether or not it's the device or placebo effect, either way, you're getting the outcome you want. And that's really all that matters, right? So, take that with a grain of salt, figure out what works for you in what ways, where's the research focused, and, it's okay if it's a placebo effect. But so I do want to make a quick note on the tubs though. So hot and cold tubs, this is something that not everyone may have access to, but if there's one thing that I would say, like, if you could find access to at least a hot tub, make that your priority. Make a priority on having some way, like once or twice a week, even for 10 minutes at a time, that you can submerge yourself, not like fully, with your head, but at least that you can dip yourself into a hot tub, especially if it has jacuzzi jets. That is going to be probably the best tool out of all of those passive recovery tools. That's probably going to be the best one for you, because that stimulus of being submerged in the hot water, what that does for your joints, oh my gosh. I don't even have to convince anyone. Everyone knows what that feels like afterwards, but it really does something different from all of the other tools and devices. And the reason why I say go to the hot tub versus trying to find a cold tub is because you are going to gain a lot more benefits in your recovery from that hot tub, from that stimulus of the hot water and being submerged in the hot water. Whereas you can get a stimulus of cold water by this is going to sound terrible, by just turning the cold water on in your shower and just taking a quick cold shower. That's going to give you the same stimulus as like a cold water plunge, because it's literally just going to wake you up and stimulate. If anything, it's going to give you more of a nervous system stimulus versus helping to relax everything. And so for the sake of your recovery, focus on the hot tub. If you have access to contrast tubs, which means hot tub and cold tub that you can move not quickly, but you can move back and forth pretty efficiently between the two, then that works as well. And what that does, the temperature changes of the waters that you're submerging yourself in, that is in a way pumping your blood and lymph for you. So it not necessarily for you, you still have to pump your own blood and lymph, it's still you, but it's helping to stimulate that blood flow and that lymph flow just from the change of temperature of the waters that you're submerged in. But if you don't have access to contrast tubs, find access to a hot tub. And if you want to have that cold water stimulus, just use your shower and just give yourself some cold showers. Even though it sounds like punishment, it might give you the benefit that you're looking for, or you don't have to do it at all. It's not a necessity. Either way, the forms of recovery that you're viewing need to fit within the big picture of what it is that you're doing, and not overexert you, not deplete you of anything, and not take over in any way where the device is doing everything for you and you're not actually doing anything. Because there is a contrast. There's a balance between that active and passive. So hopefully that helped. Let me know, drop a comment below if you found some new information from everything I just shared there. And if you have any other questions related to recovery, tools and techniques and methods, drop a comment below and ask that question. All right. Thank you all. Bye-bye.